are coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg. This is Prime News on SABC 3. And here's what's dominating in your leads at this hour.
What we are requesting from those municipalities is for them to give us the payment plan that has been signed by both themselves and together with those creditors.
The National Treasury has stressed that the decision to temporarily withhold the equitable share of 69 municipalities is mainly aimed at arresting the culture of non-payment and to curb fruitless and wasteful expenditure.
The investigation found no evidence pointing to direct causal link between the deaths under the investigation.
The Health Ombudsman has found no direct evidence that workplace bullying, victimization or poor working conditions caused the deaths of 6 healthcare professionals in KwaZulu-Natal. And oil prices rose after the US launched fresh strikes on Iran and tightened sanctions on Iranian oil exports following recent attacks on commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. We bring to you the world in focus. Good evening to you and welcome to Prime News on SABC 3. It is an absolute pleasure to connect with you again. My name is Beki Mutumomolete and our sign language interpreter for today is Novuyo Fihlani. Let's chart a course together through the day's biggest stories. And with that said, here are your leads. We launch with this. The National Treasury has stressed that the decision to temporarily withhold the July 2026 equitable share transfers of 69 municipalities is mainly aimed at arresting the culture of non-payment of creditors and to curb fruitless and wasteful expenditure. It says the total equitable share withheld for all 69 municipalities stands at 13.5 billion rand. Treasury also expressed that the release of funds will depend on how quickly the municipalities can sign repayment agreements with their creditors.
National Treasury has emphasized that the decision to withhold the municipalities' equitable share is aimed at strengthening fiscal discipline and ensuring compliance with financial management requirements. It says 99 municipalities were initially affected. However, the number reduced to 69 upon receipt of meaningful commitments from some municipalities.
Categories of those who have got unfunded budgets, and maybe just to answer what did we expect from those that had unfunded budgets. Essentially, in that case, what we expected was for the municipalities to say, we commit that from now on we will not table an unfunded budget.
The National Treasury says the responsibility of implementing consequence management against officials who fail to comply with the Municipal Finance Management Act lies with the municipal councils.
What is supposed to happen, for instance, when you talk to unauthorized, irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, that stems from non-compliance with the MFMA. So what's supposed to happen is those matters are supposed to be referred to a body called a disciplinary board, where they will investigate whether someone was intentional or they were negligent in the breach of the law. And then what is supposed to happen based on the recommendations and the findings, consequence management is supposed to be implemented.
Naledi Mabitsela Ngobo, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The city of Johannesburg has urged residents not to panic as the city is not in financial crisis. That is the word from Mayor Dada Morero following a tense high-stakes press briefing on the state of the city's accounts.
Johannesburg Mayor Dada Morero called an emergency media briefing following Treasury's sweeping crackdown. Treasury has temporarily frozen the July 2026 equitable share transfers to 69 municipalities across the country, including Joburg. While local government scrambles to secure its funding, Mayor Morero admits the city's cash flow and revenue performance are under intense pressure and insists that much more must be done to stabilize the metro's accounts.
Our working relations with National Treasury is yielding the results. As we speak, we have received correspondence from National Treasury that confirmed that their city's 2026-2027 budget or annual budget is fully funded. This is comforting feedback as it confirms that our financial management is okay and has not reached a crisis point.
Morero revealed that the state-owned entities owe the metro over $1 billion cash. He says is desperately needed to balance Joburg's books and pay off its own creditors. The member of Mayoral Council responsible for Environment and Infrastructure Services, Jack Sikwaila, says they have made strides in making sure that entities like Eskom and Randwater are paid.
We are just owing currently around rent water, give and take, just above 900 million, which we are going to be giving them in a week or so from now. We are going to be give at least Eskom around 1.3 billion to be paid also by this coming week.
Calvin Rudla, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The suspended risk and legal services head of the city of Ekurhuleni has been arrested. The official was placed on precautionary suspension in December 2025 for failing to act against wrongdoing and following allegations of corruption and misconduct, and had come under fire at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry for allegedly being part of a group that blocked a disciplinary action against the suspended Deputy Chief of Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, Julius Mkwanazi, in 2023. When we come back, the Health Ombudsman has found no direct evidence that workplace bullying, victimization or poor working conditions caused the deaths of 6 healthcare professionals in KwaZulu-Natal. This and more after the break. Welcome back to Prime News on SABC 3. The Health Ombudsman has found no direct evidence that shows that workplace bullying, victimization or poor working conditions caused the deaths of 6 healthcare professionals in KwaZulu-Natal. However, the investigation has exposed serious systematic challenges across the 6 public hospitals, raising concern about the wider pressures facing healthcare workers in the province.
Growing concern over deaths of healthcare workers at public hospitals in KwaZulu-Natal prompted an investigation by the Health Ombudsman.
No evidence pointing to direct causal link between the deaths under the investigation and workplace bullying, victimization, adverse working conditions at any of the facilities concerned.
KwaZulu-Natal officials say they are committed to ensuring that such tragedy never happens again in the province.
I want to commit that as a department we have already started an approach and strategy to implement the recommendations of this report as we read the draft reports as they came through.
Government says it is reviewing policies affecting healthcare workers following the death of doctors in KwaZulu-Natal public hospitals.
I have appointed a team of 16 experts. One of them is the Professor Somadoda Fikeni, he knows what I'm talking about, to review HR policies which has been established from 2024 to find out what effect do they have, not 2024, 1994.
Nontantan Chingela for SABC News, Pretoria.
The Madlanga Commission is set to hear the testimony of witness M behind closed doors. This after retired Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga granted the unopposed in-camera application of witness M, which is supported by the evidence leaders. Witness M is expected to testify on the shipments of drugs and evidence of a sensitive nature that is expected to implicate heads of state, terrorist organizations, politically linked individuals, drug syndicates and more.
Yes, we've read the application and we are satisfied that it should be granted. But I propose that rather than go through all the paragraphs of the order, I should just grant an order that says the application is granted. I'm doing that because we usually have, in fact, it may be only from the last one. Others have followed the format of your order. So there's nothing wrong with the format of your order, nothing at all. But I want to grant an order that will even list at the end the people who are allowed to be at the fully in-camera hearing. So if you could just add something like that. And in fact, I think you can get a precedent from the last one that was done by Mr. Shaskalsin. Which one was it?
N.
It was K. Oh, we've not finalized that one. The one before, I think it was K. But anyway, you'll get a precedent for that, which also lists who should be in attendance from Mr. Shaskalsin.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So all that I will do now will just be to say the application is granted.
To this now, pressure is mounting on the Office of the Public Protector to release her long-awaited report into the now placed on special leave Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. Questions are growing over when the report will be finalized and made public after KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi made explosive allegations and by that prompted ATM to lodge a complaint.
ATM's complaint was lodged shortly after Mkhwanazi accused Mchunu of interfering in sensitive police investigations and allowing political influence to undermine law enforcement. Those allegations triggered multiple investigations, including the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry and Parliament's ad hoc committee. The public protector says those parallel processes delayed its own investigation because many of the same witnesses and sources of evidence first had to testify elsewhere. However, the office now says only a few outstanding investigative steps remain before the report can be finalized.
The investigation itself was then affected by the involvement of the very same people that we needed to interview and obtain information and evidence from, who have been involved in the Madlanga Commission.
Despite that assurance, the ATM says the delay has gone on for too long.
For the public protector to delay this long, for us as the African Transformation Movement, it is truly disappointing. The public protector must do the right thing. She must speed up this investigation and she must make public the report thereof.
The pressure is no longer coming only from the complainant, but also from the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Constitutional Development. Chairperson Xola says he wrote to the public protector immediately after receiving the ATM's complaint on the delay in finalizing the investigation, requesting an update on the status of the investigation. Mkhokeli Bandla, SABC News, Parliament.
Lawyers representing alleged political fixer Brown Mokgotsi say that they will be appealing both decisions by the Johannesburg Magistrates Court to deny him bail. The first application was denied due to inconsistencies in Mokgotsi's address. His legal team then brought a second application, which was also denied after the court found that it was not based on new facts and that Mokgotsi allegedly tried to interfere with witnesses.
This is to allow for the defence to peruse footage that the state has provided to it. You'd recall, of course, that the state alleges that there was no assassination attempt on the life of Brown Mokgotsi. He had basically shot at his car himself. The state had also alleged that there were witnesses who saw this take place, so the defence has now access to it. They were handed that footage this morning, which is believed, according to the state, to prove that Brown Mokgotsi, in fact, there was no attempt on his life at that time. They've also indicated, this is the defence, that they are going to appeal that second bail denial. You'd recall, of course, that the defence had brought that second bail bid, saying that they wanted to bring it to court based on new facts. Remember, the initial bail application had been denied on the basis that the court found there had been some inconsistencies in the addresses that Mokgotsi had given to the court.
Yes, I can confirm that a CD was handed over to us and we can't wait to actually see what is contained on that particular CD containing the alleged video footage. Yes, I can confirm. We do not agree with the decision of the magistrate, which is the reason why we want to take this particular decision to the High Court so that the decision can be actually reviewed by the High Court in relation to the refusal of this particular appeal. Bail application. It's not only the second bail application, we are appealing both bail applications. Yeah, just to be clear.
After the break, oil prices rose after the U.S. launched fresh strikes on Iran and tightened sanctions on Iranian oil exports, following recent attacks on commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. More on this coming up shortly. Thank you for staying with us. Oil prices rose after the U.S. launched fresh strikes on Iran and tightened sanctions on Iranian oil exports following recent attacks on commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. The global oil benchmark Brent crude was up around 3% to $76 a barrel at one point, though off the peak of $120, it is enough to raise inflation risks.
Central Command said the strikes against Iran were to impose heavy costs for targeting and attacking commercial shipping crewed by innocent civilians in an international waterway. The U.S. accuses Iran of attacking 3 commercial ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz, calling it a clear violation of the ceasefire. Oil prices have come down, but jumped after the U.S. strikes. Brent crude, the main international benchmark, rose 3% at one stage. Iran has not directly claimed responsibility for the attacks on the 3 tankers. It has repeatedly warned vessels against attempting to transit the waterway on routes it has not approved. Iran's forces said they targeted U.S. military sites in Bahrain and Kuwait. Washington also moved to withdraw a concession allowing Iran to sell oil on the global market. Laura Westbrook, SABC News, Hong Kong.
NATO's European leaders aim to convince Donald Trump to recommit to the military alliance at a summit in Ankara after the U.S. President revived his disputes with them over the Iran war in Greenland. Earlier, NATO sought to demonstrate that its European members were heeding Trump's calls to spend more on their own defense and rely less on the US by unveiling a raft of arms deals worth at least $50 billion.
At the NATO summit last year, NATO countries agreed to spend 5% of their GDP on defence by 2035, made up of 1.5% spending on national resilience, with 3.5% on core defence capability. To meet that challenge, Secretary General Mark Rutte said on Tuesday that the NATO alliance needs a defence industrial revolution, that the hum of machinery needs to become a roar.
Here in Ankara, I expect nations to present clear, concrete and credible plans to reach that 5% goal. And the evidence we see so far is impressive.
In the meantime, Ukraine is still trying to defend itself against Russia, with over 20 people killed on the eve of the NATO summit, partly because it's running out of American-made defensive missiles to shoot down Russian rockets.
While this war continues, please help us get more air defense missiles. This is our top priority right now. We are capable of doing everything else ourselves.
US President Donald Trump says he's been speaking with the Russian and Ukrainian leader ahead of the summit and claims once again there is room for a peace deal. But there's little hope of any progress expected on that from this summit. The US President will formally meet with other NATO leaders on Wednesday. Stuart Smith, SABC News, Ankara in Turkey.
From the sporting grounds to climate talk, it is now time for us to check in with your weather team for your daily update. Your forecast is coming up next.
Thank you very much, and everyone, welcome to the Weather Desk. Now let's take a quick look at what to expect, weather details for this evening as well as for tomorrow. Clear skies for the central, eastern and northern parts of the country ahead of this evening, but a cold front brushing through the southern parts will leave a trail of isolated to scattered showers and thunder showers along the south coast and adjacent interior. Tomorrow, that cold front is expected to move away from the country, but still expecting some isolated showers and rain along the eastern parts of the KwaZulu-Natal province, going into the Eastern Cape, as well as the southern parts of the Western Cape. The central and northern parts of the country can expect clear and sunny skies ahead of tomorrow. Taking a closer look at our temperatures for Gauteng, quite a cold morning in Springs with a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 20, peaking at 20 here in Johannesburg and 22 for Pretoria. Limpopo is expecting a fairly cold morning across this province, especially over the central and western parts, warming up to 27 in Lephalale, 23 as the maximum in Polokwane, and Thohoyandou will peak at 25 degrees. Mpumalanga can expect a very cold morning, especially in Standerton, with a minimum of -5 and then a maximum of 21. Secunda -2 in the morning and a maximum of 21-20 will be the peak in Carolina. KwaZulu-Natal can also expect a very cold morning, especially in the interior, with a minimum of 1 for Umnambiti and Vryheid. Durban, a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 23. Richards Bay will also peak at 23 degrees. The Eastern Cape province is expecting a rather cold morning, but fairly cool as you move into the southern parts of this province. A maximum of 17 can be expected in Komani, 17 for Gqeberha as well in Willemo, a maximum of 13 degrees. The Western Cape can also expect a rather cold morning, especially in Laingsburg and Clanwilliam, with minimums of 7 degrees Celsius. Cape Town, a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 16. Now for the Northern Cape, with some morning fog patches expected in the west, Springbok with a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 22, Uppington 4 in the morning and a maximum of 25, Sutherland -3 in the morning with a maximum of 16. Now for the Free State, expecting a minimum of 0 in Bethlehem and a maximum of 19, 20 will be the peak in Bloemfontein. And lastly, for the Northwest province, it will be a rather cold morning in Klerksdorp with a minimum of 0 and a maximum of 21. 21 will be the maximum in Mahikeng and 22 as the peak in Tosca. That's all from the weather desk.
And that is how the cookie crumbles. Thank you for tuning in to Prime News on SABC 3. We are back with you again tomorrow evening, same time, same place. Until then, from all of us, it is good night and take care.